Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome, David. Thank you so much for doing this. It's a real thrill for me. Yesterday, I interviewed the head of the CIA up here, but I mistakenly came out with the questions for you in my. So I had to wing it. I wasn't really going to ask him about spicy noodles, but. For you, let me start with, what is your drone policy? Actually, you know what? What is your drone policy? Because one of the things that you're doing, and how many people, first of all, have eaten in one of his restaurants or eaten food? Wow.
Thank you.
Good stuff. You're in a period of pretty rapid expansion, and you're also not just expanding terrestrially, you're expanding in format and ways you deliver food to people, including Ando in New York, which is delivery. How far are we away from drone-delivered food?
I laughed initially. I think it will happen in our lifetimes, probably.
Yeah.
You know, I know nothing about drone technology, but all the tech people I talk to think that it's probably going to happen, or something that's an automated delivery system.
Why don't we just do this? For those few people here who don't know your story, you're part of this generation of chef entrepreneurs, one of the most successful in America. Take 1 or 2 minutes and walk through how you went from a guy, Georgetown Prep to Trinity. You're cooking, you come out of a restaurant family, but how did you go from chef to almost a kind of global presence? Just walk us through real brief.
So, you know, born and raised in this town. My dad worked his entire life to make sure I was never going to work in restaurants.
That was his dream for you,
yeah,
right? Yeah,
to do anything but what I'm doing right now.
Right.
Because he knows how hard it is. And, you know, had a few false starts in college that I wanted to go to the culinary world. And then after I started to work in like a real job, like a desk job, I realized that.
What was your desk job?
I was doing some stuff in finance. I had interned at Payne Webber for like 2 years, doing private wealth asset management in Connecticut, and that was just.
That sounds thrilling.
Yes.
Yeah.
You just shuffle papers around when you're an intern. That's all you do as an intern anyway. So,
right.
I just realized that life is something that I was headed towards the middle, right? Even if I was good at it, I would be terrible at it. So. And it's not something I wanted to do, and I thought that the food industry, I didn't know if it was going to be my calling, but for someone that was allergic to work, a year into it, I was like, wow, I don't think I've taken a day off in like a year, and I'm working 7 days a week.
Right.
And maybe this is something that I should be doing.
And so how did you learn how to innovate to go from one restaurant to what you're doing now?
That happened because I feel like we had everything on the line, right? If we took investors to the first restaurant, I don't think I'd be here today, because failure wasn't an option.
You did this off a loan from your father?
First one, and then I took a bank loan out, the second one. And we just continued to put our money in time and time again. And when you're in that situation, you do whatever you just learn so many things that you never thought you were going to learn before, because you could just sort of delegate that stuff. Oh, this person's handling that. But besides just making the food, myself and the people around me had to take care of everything else.
Did you have a mentor? What did you have a plan to get to where you are today? How did it happen?
So I've learned that growing organically means not having any fucking idea what you're doing. So, for instance,
that might be the signature quote of the entire Washington Ideas Forum, by the way. I want people to write that down.
Our first restaurant outside New York City, just to show you how we had no idea what we were doing, was in Sydney, Australia.
Right. For the commute was so obviously. How did you come to that decision? That seems almost drug-induced as a bad decision.
It just seemed like a good idea, and that's what we were able to do.
Because you've never been to Australia, so
why not? I liked Australia, and this is what went through my head. Like on a map, it's only like 4 inches away.
Yeah.
I swear to God. When you look at that, you're like, oh, that's not that far away.
Like I said, it was drug-induced, right? It sounds like a drug-induced decision.
So we opened up in Australia, and the next restaurant we opened up was in Toronto. So there was no real plan in place.
But you somehow got there. Let's talk about some of the policy challenge. We were talking before a little bit about the policy challenges that face a rapidly growing business in an area that more and more people are interested in, and more people are eating out than ever, and more people are demanding good food. You're under tremendous strain in any number of areas. One of them is maintaining the quality of a essentially blue-collar workforce in a very white-collar world. Talk about the pressure on you to keep your food affordable while maintaining the lives and supporting the lives of almost 1,000 employees at this point? Go into that a little bit, and then we'll turn to immigration.
Well, I can.
And then Donald Trump. And then we'll go back to Sydney, Australia.
When I started cooking in 1999, 2000, I got paid $9.75 an hour. The current wage average, I think, in New York City is maybe $12.50 or $13, maybe tops. Obviously, we want to pay our cooks as much as humanly possible. I'm always going to be an advocate for the cook, not the front of the house, even though now I realize how important the front of the house is. So servers can, a couple of our restaurants, a server can make $100,000 on like a 50-hour work week tops, in terms of, maybe more depending on the week. But the cook is sort of stuck at, there's a couple places where we're paying $15 an hour, and that's just not enough. Everything's gotten more expensive in New York City, but how we pay our cooks. And that's a struggle that I have, is how do we re-engineer our business, because I want to pay my cooks as much as I can. And I want them to have a better quality of life, because, again, like, it's a blue-collar labor. We're in a white-collar work environment now, but we're still paying, people not as much as I would like.
And where does it break?
Well, it breaks, I think, on the consumer's end. I mean, most of the responsibility is on our shoulders. But I think the consumer has to understand that food should be more expensive, not just for us, but for the farmers, for the environment, for the just many costs that are sort of hidden. So it's something that we're really trying to figure out. We toyed around with, unsuccessfully, with a no-tip policy restaurant. The margins in a business, even a very successful restaurant, are slim to none. So the first thing people have to get that out of their head, that like a busy restaurant doesn't mean that they're just raking in the money. So it's going to take some time to figure out, but I tell people, when I get criticism from some other people that are like, "Why, you're not paying your cooks enough money?" I'm like, we're trying to make this work for everybody. I mean, for that same reason, like, do you pay people that pick up your trash, or people that clean up the house, people that clean up bathrooms? That's the same sort of labor force.
Right.
You should be paying them as much money as possible, too.
And talk about how this interacts with the immigration controversy in America right now.
Without our Hispanic labor force, there'd be no restaurants in America. And I mean that, like,
but why don't
it
people
would just die out, right? Who's going to make it? Not just who, like, I'm trying to say stuff that's not going to get me in a lot of trouble right now.
No, say stuff that gets you in a lot of trouble right now.
It's, I have a lot of my guys, that's what they talk about. They're sort of scared about the future.
In this moment, in this particular political
where
moment.
they might be completely free, or there are now tougher standards where I may not be able to hire someone that I very much want to hire. And that sucks. Or I have a guy that's been with me 10 plus years, and there's people that live with him in his apartment that he's afraid might have to leave. Like, that's a terrible thing to go to work every day and worry about.
Right.
So, yeah, I think things need to change all across the board, particularly on
why do you think people don't understand this?
People don't want to know anything about their food. It's just the truth. People don't want to know that, well, something died to make this burger you're eating. You know, somebody picked this piece of fruit for your salad. So.
Amazing. Let's talk about, just for a minute, scale and the challenges that come with scale. I'm dredging up what might be an unpleasant subject for you. A recent Pete Wells review in the New York Times that was written about in a New Yorker profile. Pete Wells thinks you're a tremendously gifted chef. But the critique, I think, almost is that he wants, in an almost nostalgic way, for you to be that chef that you were 10 or 15 years ago, cooking amazing things in one spot. Do you give any credence to the idea that at your level, at the very, very top of your industry, that you guys are spread too thin, and that your restaurants are no longer as original as they once were because you're doing too much? Feel free to make this a commentary on journalism as well.
Obviously, I disagree with Pete. I think it's unfortunate that he's shaping the culinary universe in New York City. He's taken down a lot of sort of the titans, from Thomas Keller to Danielle Ballou to the Spotted Pig team, so on and so forth. And you know what? If we didn't deliver, we didn't deliver. And that's something that I've trying to tell myself. But at the end of the day, these guys and women are doing amazing work. And because of their amazing work, they're growing. I don't know how we should be punished for trying to take care of our guys. And if you ask every one of them, Jose Andres is a perfect example here in DC, if you talk to Jose, he's gonna say, I'm in this to take care of my guys. I've already done enough to take care of myself, and as I mature and as I get older, it's like, we shouldn't be doing the same things when we were 25 years old.
Do you think reviewing is becoming entertainment?
It is entertainment, and that's what that's what sells, right? It sells because you're either criticizing someone or praise. Praise doesn't sell. Mediocre reviews don't sell.
So you think people are looking for the takedown?
Yeah,
You live in a very unforgiving media environment now, in that everybody's an expert and everybody on TripAdvisor or Yelp is a food critic. Am I wrong in saying that it's rougher now than ever?
It's rougher now than ever, but for someone that's complained for the past sort of 7 years about this, I now realize that we just have to get better. That's it. How we outreach, how we talk to people that write reviews from a blogger's perspective or someone that writes a post on Instagram, they just want to be acknowledged, right? And if we didn't do that in our food, that's on us. And that's just what I'm thinking about now.
Talk about, because this is a very Washington-heavy audience, talk about in the remaining minutes that we have. Talk about the food scene here. I mean, you're a local boy. You made your name in New York. Give us a assessment of how Washington's food scene has changed, and if it's changed for the better. And also tell them what you like here.
Food
Tell me
in
what
DC,
you like here. I want to go. Yeah. Yeah.
Food's better than ever across the country. It's really hard to find a city that doesn't have a spectacular restaurant. DC, and I can say this from my own cooks that have worked at other top restaurants, I mean, people are looking for some stability where it's more than just the next hot thing. And I think, at least from the cook's perspective, people want to build on this momentum. So it's not just the flash in the pan. Because there's some great things happening in DC. Probably one of the hottest restaurants in the country is Aaron Silverman's Rose's Luxury and now Pineapple and Pearls. And the thing that I would like other people in DC to recognize is, why is he so successful? Aaron worked at the best restaurants, not just in America, but all over the place for many years. Every year was a year or two. He used to work for me. So,
do you consider this as good as New York now in terms of creativity?
I don't think New York is as strong as it used to be, not because it's doing less, excellent work. It's just that everything else has been elevated, right? It's hard to distinguish, right? New York used to be like Ted Williams. It's harder to hit 400 now because everything else is better, right? So that's why I'm never going to knock on New York, and I'm not going to knock on my hometown of DC, but it's better to eat than ever before. I'd like to see more ethnic eateries, and I even hate using the word ethnic eateries. I just think DC could embrace its diversity. There's so many good, things that you might not normally think, let's go out to dinner.
That was one
right?
person clapping for diversity, by the way. Thank you. Tell me one.
Ethiopian foods here is great. You have great Korean
and that's
food.
been for 30 years.
Yeah, but people still don't know that, right? You have an amazing Ecuadorian population, Salvadorian food. No one eats pupusas. Not that I know of. They're delicious here.
Now you've alienated the pupusa lobby.
Yeah, well, it's all here. Yeah. I think people need to go a little bit further. Right. The technology's there where they can locate the stuff, so go out there and eat it.
One more thing. Do you ever dream of chucking it all? I mean, you have you're sitting on top of a little bit of an empire now. Do you ever think, I just want to go into the kitchen in one place and cook all day?
Yeah, I mean, all the time. If you talk to a lot of my friends, they all want to sort of think, they talk about abandoning it all. And I joke about burning it all down to have some freedom. And I think about this probably 15 to 30 minutes every day. It's true. Because now I'm in a position where I don't know what I'm necessarily doing. You know, trained to cook, not to manage. And managing, I don't love managing. It's not that much fun, but it's something I have to get better at.
Do you want to get better at it? Do you want to just grow this and sell it and then go find something else?
I've had the opportunity to sell before, and I didn't, right? Of course, I'd like to make money, but it's got to be in a way where I'm not going to have survivor's guilt. And I want to grow this company to the point where my team can benefit, and the people that we purchase from can benefit. So that's a great opportunity, right? So, you know, we'll see how far we can take this thing. But if it all collapses, you know, it's on my shoulders for sure.
And if it all collapses, you can still go back and cook.
I hope so.
Yeah. Dave, this is awesome. Thank you very much for
Thank
coming
you,
out
guys.
today. Thank you so much. This is great.